first rehearsal and the last performance. So you guys are getting everything at the first time. So we will all clap a lot, we will all laugh a lot, and we will have fun because they're your children that are up here and they have worked hard in trying to memorize or say their parts. So.
Welcome to our Frost Hicks story. I want to introduce you to Granddaddy and Granny. We're all related to both of these wonderful people, if not by birth, then by marriage. Let the show begin. If you have a yellow card, please come up now. These are Ollie's ancestors.
This house was built in 1875.
Okay.
This house was built in 1875. Ollie was born in this house along with 5 of his children. They weren't born in a hospital. They were born in this home. The house site is down the road a piece. When Ollie and Angie and their children lived here, there was a large kitchen, a parlor, 1 bedroom downstairs, and 2 large bedrooms upstairs. The bathroom was outside, along with the barn and smokehouse.
Am I talking now? I am? I'm up? Okay. I was a Tennessee farmer through one of our country's worst time in modern history. I raised my family through World War I, the Great Depression, and World War II. I managed to keep our farm, but needed help with my family and friends. Being on my farm was a blessing too. We had land to grow our food and raise our own meat.
I raised 7 beautiful children. I would rise early to start the morning in preparation for the day's meals and tend to my children. I had a little garden outside my kitchen. I grew many delicious vegetables. This was wonderful during the Great Depression where food was very hard to buy. My family knows that I love to talk. Telling stories is my favorite pastime. One evening at a first family reunion, we all were gathered on the front lawn enjoying a hot dog roast over an open fire. I was telling one of my famous stories and really getting involved in that story. I heard this little voice coming from one of my grandsons. It was David. He looked up at me and said, "Granny, watch your wieners and quit your talking." Wise advice from my little one.
Okay, we're going to start with the youngest generation going out to the last generation. So go ahead, Zachary.
I'm known to all my grandchildren as Grandpap. I love them all. My children and grandchildren are very special to me. I enjoy very much visiting and talking with them. I built this frost home where I raised my family and farmed for many years. Then I got very ill and I couldn't farm anymore. I decided to study to become a lawyer. One day at the farm, I dressed up in a white suit, white hat, and was ready to go into Shovel for a court case. While I was dressing, my daughter Ollie's sister was bringing water upstairs from our well to take a bath. I was walking by the house at the same time. My daughter poured some dirty water upstairs. Guess what happened? Splash! The water hit me, and I was soaked and my clothes were ruined.
I'm Ollie's mother. We're standing on the land where I was born and raised. My brother Isaiah built this home behind us after the one I grew up in burned down. As you can see, I didn't move too far when I got married. Note, Lim Motlow married into my family. Today there was a highway near called Regar Motlow Highway. Regar Motlow was the son of Lim Motlow and Clara Regler, our cousin.
I'm the father, Joshua Wright. Most of my life I was called Elder Frost. I am a traveling pastor serving several churches in my community. I live in the country and there are not many pastors in the area. I would travel up to 20 miles by horse to preach. I want to tell many people about Jesus.
I was a very supportive wife to my husband, the pastor. During our early years of marriage, I was busy with motherly duties, but after the children grew up and left our home, I supported my husband, John. We traveled many hours by horse and buggy to churches in our community. My father, D.D. Hicks.
Ollie, did she say John married a Hicks?
I think so.
Oh no, Ollie! That means we're third cousins.
This home was built way before the Civil War. It is also on the National Registry of Homes. We hopefully will make Ike Fair at his home today. He is 97 years old. Our family's descendants, Ebenezer B. Frost and his wife, Nancy Wright Frost, bought this property in the 1830s and built the front part of this home. Ike's grandmother built the second story in the back of the home and did some remodeling to the rest of the house. Not long after my wife Nancy and I moved to Flat Creek, I received an assignment to transport Cherokee Indians from Alabama to Oklahoma. I left my home and headed to Cherokee County, Alabama. I picked the Indians up in my covered wagon and proceeded to Oklahoma. This trail, I'm told, is now called the Trail of Tears. I got to Oklahoma safely, delivering the Indians to the authorities. I received my pay and started to return home. As the story goes, I never returned home.
Nancy Wright Frost. I'm married to Ebenezer and are the mother of 5 boys. John Ebenezer is our son. One crisp October morning, my husband, Ebenezer, hitched his 4 horses on our covered wagon. He was on his way to Oklahoma. I watched him climb up Hungry Hill to the north of us. This hill is called Hungry Hill because after climbing up or down it, you're very hungry. About a month went by and I began to start listening for the wagging wheels over the hill. I sat on the front porch chair waiting for his return. Days went by. I would hear wagon wheels and watch them pass our barn. Still no Ebenezer. Sadly, he never came home to the barn and my husband was declared dead towards the end of November.
I, Ebenezer B. Frost, have a middle name. My middle name is Boone. I got that name from my mother, Rebecca Boone Frost. Boone was my mother's maiden name. Her father, John Boone, was Daniel's cousin. John lived most of his life with Daniel's family. Who is Daniel? Daniel is Daniel Boone, the famous frontiersman. He was a surveyor for the United States government. He and our cousin, Daniel Boone.
George Washington. I, Nancy Bright Frost, have an important maiden name too. My 4 times great-grandfather married a Washington, Anna Pope Washington. Anna Pope's brother, Lawrence, was the grandfather of our first president of the United States of America, the father of our country. Say hi to Uncle George Washington. Yes, I gave John and Elsie my father's home. They lived in this log cabin most of their lives. It is now called the Old Frost Home. My wife Melinda and I lived in a very comfortable home near where the Hicks Cemetery is today. We are buried there along with John and Elsie. I hear there is an optional tour today to visit the old Hicks graveyard. Y'all come now, you hear?
This is a funny one, so she's going to read it. This is back to Elsie.
I wrote a will, and it states, if I die, this is to be done. I want my home sold and the proceeds divided evenly and given to our children. All the belongings and household items are also to be divided amongst our children. My husband, John, will receive our bed, his desk, and some money from the house. Note, in the next census, after Elsie's death, John was living in a boarding house in Shelbyville.
This is the house I built for my family in 1891. My house was probably the best home built in Flat Creek. It was well constructed and had many details on the outside. As you enter my home, the foyer, there are 2 staircases leading up to the children's bedrooms. There was one staircase for my 6 girls and the other for my 4 boys. As Angie started about me in the Frost book, Papa was an early riser. He'd get up at 4 o'clock. I remember so well. He'd come down to the foot of the girls' staircase and say, "Get up, gals, and make biscuits." I know that meant me. He'd make coffee and fry the meat, and away he'd go. In 3rd grade, I won the annual spelling contest at school. I had an average education, but by reading so much, I learned a lot. With this knowledge, I was able to help my children with their reading studies. Even my children's friends would visit our home and ask me questions to complete their homework. Everyone said I was better than a dictionary. After my husband Joshua died, I was left with many children still at home. But together we managed to do quite well. Remember, reading is very important and is fun too. We are Joshua Wilson Hicks' parents. Joshua was our youngest child. I, Minerva, fell one morning carrying my infant, John, and a full load of laundry to be washed in the spring by our home. We had no washing machines. I was badly injured, so bad that I was confirmed to bed for 51 years. While bedridden, I had 4 children, including Joshua Wilson. I also outlived my husband, Billy.
Fred Wilson. I was the firstborn child to Ollie and Angie. I helped all my brothers and sisters after I finished college and became a teacher. Our family did not have a bathroom, so one summer I built a bathroom into our farmhouse for all 9 of us. After being a teacher, I was a principal in Knoxville, Tennessee for many years and worked hard to get higher salaries for teachers all over Tennessee. I wrote a book about all of our history of our Frost family called The Frost and Related Families All Over Tennessee. I also wrote another book when I was flat on my back in bed with cancer. These books are for all of us to read and help keep our heritage alive.
I was the second child to be born to Ollie and Angie, Angie, and the first girl. Like my brother Wright Wilson, I too helped my younger siblings, mostly like my brother Wright Wilson, hand-me-downs and mending torn clothing. I also became a school teacher like my brother. My first teaching job was in Lynchburg, Tennessee. This town is very close to my home in Flat Creek, Tennessee. I lived in a boarding house in the town of Lynchburg with the other teachers. That same boarding house is now a restaurant called Miss Mary Bobo's. We are eating there tomorrow, having our delicious midday meal. I didn't live in the main house, but I lived in the annex behind the main home. Make sure to walk back there tomorrow for a visit.
I was the third child born to Ollie and Angie. The second sister. I moved into California with my husband, A.R., in the early 1940s. 2 of my younger sisters followed me, Carl and Olivine. We all lived most of our lives in California and raised our families there. I have one son named Eric.
Carl Holt. I was the fourth child of Ollie and Angie, the third girl. I spent most of my time working in California for the Navy, and then I lived in Georgia and visited many times. And she always shared her beautiful smile. And I always loved my family. I'm the 5th child from Ollie and Auntie Fanny and little boy. I used to go and sing, and it was to ride in my family house, my border boy, my border boy.
That's now for Crowley.
The issues
toast. Yummy. Another girl. I'm the sixth child born to Wally and Angie, the fourth and last girl. Rachel, my oldest sister, made most of my clothes from hand-me-downs, but they were always beautiful to me. I worked at Oak Ridge on a Manhattan project with my sister, Carl. I was the secretary to a physicist. I raised my family in California. Now I live in an assisted living place in Folsom, California. I love all my family. If I was a better house, I would love to be in Tennessee with you all. I was the youngest child born to Ollie and Angie. I loved helping Daddy on our farm. Daddy taught me a lot about farming. When Daddy and Mom
Daddy and Mother died, I asked my brothers
brothers and sisters if I could buy our farm and the regular farm. I wanted to keep it in our family. They all agreed and were very pleased that I bought the farm. I'm so happy that I bought both farms so we can still enjoy and learn about the life on a Tennessee farm, just like we are doing this week.
Okay, I'll take your blue cards. You want to take those? Yeah, okay. I need the grays. There's two, Bradley and Catherine.
For many years, 6 of Granny, and Granddaddy's children studied at this school. Billy was too young and started at the new school over younger.
That's good.
And all the first children finished up at the new school. We'll visit the older school today. We'll see the old school build and the water pump.
This ends our Frost Hicks Heritage story. Before the day is over, please ask your parents or grandparents if they ever did this at the Frost home. Ate dinner on the big round kitchen table, played the piano, slept downstairs or upstairs, rang the dinner bell, went down in the cave, milked a cow, played in the creek, or caught a frog or fireflies. Thanks for coming to watch our story. Now we'll go on a field trip throughout Flat Creek and learn more about our heritage.
Okay, if you had a part of the play, please come up. If you're 5 and under, sit in the front, and as you get taller, get in the back.
No, thank you. Mm-hmm.
Should I stand up?
This is the picture we all have to have. Okay. Sarah, I don't want to tell me when I stand there. Okay. Stand next to Stand next to Anna. There you go, buddy. Yeah.
Take a regular and then take a regular.
Okay, ready?